Hey, you guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, yeah, I do. But I think you taught something different, Jackie. Yeah. Show win the seller. You guys, so Jackie Peterson is awesome. She was formerly in the position I'm in now. She was assistant team leader for 2 years. Was it 2 years, Jackie?
Mm-hmm.
And then she got her license and became a Rockstar agent. So was on KW staff, and now she's an agent. How long have you been an agent?
4.5 years.
Okay, I'll let you talk about that. Give your bio, why you became an agent, how that all got started. But she's awesome and just super friendly, always willing to help. Doors always open. Just anything she can do to help, because she's been in the position of getting new agents on and getting them up and going. She used to teach Ignite when she was back on staff here, and so she gets it that we're all in this together and we're all starting from scratch somewhere. And so she definitely knows how to help new agents get up and going. So I'm going to turn the time over to her, and I'm going to go up and get on Zoom upstairs and work on a few things.
Sure.
But if you have any questions, just talk through Zoom and I'll hear you.
Perfect. I think we'll be good. Thank you. You're awesome. Okay. So, all right, Mason. Which one's Mason?
We're Masons.
Oh, okay. So, and then what was your name again? Tristan. I just heard her say Mason. Okay. So how odd, you guys, like Mason is like, it's a somewhat common name, but somewhat not common name.
10 years older.
Okay, here, I'll move my first. Okay, so here's the question. When have you all started? I know you started, last month is when you were with me. Yeah, so, because I knew that you were pretty new, like within days. Okay.
I started
Tristan.
about a month ago. About a month and a half ago.
As well. Okay. Perfect. And what are you guys in it full time? Yes. Full time?
Sort of.
Ish.
Yeah.
What do you do now?
I just lost a W-2 job.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
COVID?
Sort of. Like they lost the biggest client due to COVID is what they were saying. So
I get it. Well, and what did you do?
I was managing a cleaning business.
Awesome. That's a big deal. Yeah, because nobody's using their offices, right? So.
Pretty much full time. I have a part-time job where I work like 2 days a week later at night.
Great.
But changing that up to work a 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. shift and then do the rest of the day to real estate.
That is awesome. I don't want to necessarily get up at 4 in the morning, but then again, I don't go to bed very early, so. I know, that's what I'm saying. That's pretty amazing. And then you, Mason? Full time. Awesome. Really? And so you had your license with them? You didn't? So you were W-2'd? Oh, awesome.
In the process of getting my license and working with them to be a model with them, and also be working here. So kind of under play when they're
Mm-hmm.
the red sign to play.
Yep. Yes, he does.
And they didn't want that, so they said, "Oh, you're either with us like full time or you're not with us at all." So
Yeah, and I understand that from the builder side too.
yeah. So
That's awesome.
it sucks if you're like a builder's agent, is that you're gonna get a lot of deals,
Mm-hmm.
but they take like a year to get to you. Whoa.
Yeah, it's the long game. It definitely is a long-term like stint. So it kind of depends, but it's, yeah, exactly. Just depending on the size of the project. And sometimes it can be 6 months. Sometimes it can be a year out, 2 years, depending on how developed the land is. So anyway, so I just want you guys to know, so my name is Jackie Peterson. I am huge into obviously getting yourself trained, getting yourself up and going. I think there's a fine balance between spending time in training and also doing. So make sure that you guys are doing just as much as you guys are training. Because sometimes one thing that I found is being in the position that I was in before, I found that a lot of agents would come in and they would train. Oh, you're good. They would train, but they like would get they'd get done with their training and then they'd leave the office and they wouldn't do much after that. And so they weren't seeing the results that they wanted. Even though they were training, they thought they were doing something for their business. And yes, sharpening the saw is definitely important, but you still have to sit and cut the tree, right? So, and it's very monotonous and it's not the most fabulous thing of like going through and learning all of these things and also starting your own business. But once you start doing it, you'll find how much greater your return on investment of time is with like coupled with training. So, and Tristan already knows this story a little bit, but I started out as, like I said, actually Josh, not the technology person, but the onboarder of all new agents and teaching them some of the technology, some of the systems. And then they put me into team leader position or assistant team leader position. And I would bring on new agents and recruit them. And the biggest thing is when I was thrown into the position, I didn't have a license. But then I was in charge of Ignite. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I just decided then and there when I kind of understood the job and the position, I just said, okay, well, I'm going to get my license and I'm going to do it in the hopes to be able to like just do trial and error and teach the people, like the new agents, what I know and what I'm learning, And so that's what I did. My first like Ignite sessions that I had to teach. And there, a lot of the other agents, there were a lot of agents that would jump in, but our office was significantly smaller than this one. It was less than half of what this office is now. Oh, really? It's just right over there. You know where Milagros is?
Yeah.
The building behind it. So there's like a Mara. It's on the back side. Mm-hmm.
Like the far end.
Yep. So that building that just kind of goes. Yeah. So that's where the old office was.
How'd you get started with Keller Williams?
So it was just more of a fluke thing. I got a email out of nowhere from Johnny. I don't know if you guys know who Johnny is. He's part owner with Clay here. He was the team leader before Tim. And so I got this random email, I don't even know how, saying, hey, this position is available. You have been given us your name to look into it. And I said, who is this? Like, I don't even do real estate, but I did sales. I owned other businesses. And so I kind of looked at it and I thought, it's kind of interesting. Let's just see what happens. And so I threw in my resume, not that I was really looking for a job. I owned my own business and I was working from home. And then I got the job and it just more became a passion. So that's how I started with Keller Williams. Yeah. So, and then I really started diving into other companies to see like, okay, what do other companies have that I might be missing out on? And so I started just researching, all the different types of companies. And really I came to the conclusion that this was the best fit for me. And that's why I've stayed. And so Ignite has been an incredible thing for me because I just started with you guys being new and said, hey, I am telling you the basics here and I'm trying them and this is my result. And so it was kind of fun to do it alongside. And I just have to say, like, doing these basic things are what literally helped me grow my business. Now I'm to a point where I'm like, okay, it was getting too big to have 2 full-time jobs. So I transitioned into real estate. And then like this last year, I'll tell you, we adopted a little girl from Tonga, which is awesome. But I was gone for 5 months of the year. And I will tell you, it was incredible to see how 2019. Wait, are we 19? 20, yeah. 2020, yeah, 2019. Mm-hmm. So I was gone for 5 months last year. And it was all during summer months. I left at the 1st of June and didn't get home until Halloween was when I got home.
Just going through the adoption process?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I was supposed to be gone for 1 month. I was gone for 5. So the thing is what was incredible. So summertime is your biggest time as a real estate agent. I was thankful enough to see that my business had grown enough and I had people in my corner that took care of my people. And I still was making an income while being in Tonga for 5 months of the year, and was able to still sustain my income, which is crazy. And I didn't, and I'm not just saying that just to say it, but like really what I found is that when you become a great agent and when you become a consistent agent, you will have consistent business. It takes time to get to the consistency part. It takes time to get it built up, but your ability to do more is just, you grow your capacity, right? And so this is the biggest thing. We're talking today about close the deal. So contract to close. Once you've already gone through the process of showing people homes, getting them under contract, what do you do and how do you do it effectively? I think that is where you either you get like the biggest supporters or you get your biggest failures, right? It's where you become like, this is why they hired you. It's not to show them houses. It's where it's kind of where the pavement, what is it called? I don't know. That's where you guys really meet the real hard stuff. Okay. So, so you guys feel free to ask questions and like be a part of this. Yeah.
What were your first 6 months in real estate like?
First.
Back to me, like when you really got into it.
So first 6 months, I was working still full time, but I will tell you, because I was like teaching other people what I was doing, and I had that accountability. My first item of business, once I got my license within 6 weeks of starting here at Keller Williams as a staff member, and I got my license, and I immediately walked over to my neighbor's house that I knew that they were going to sell. And I said, hey, I just got my license, like as in like a few hours ago. And I said, I know this would like be a big deal. I said, but I know you want to list your house. Would you take a chance on me to let me list the home? I'm teaching all these new agents on how to do things like this. And I would love the opportunity and for you to tell me what you like and don't like, and you can just give me the all in. And she said, absolutely, of course. And so she allowed me to list her home. So that I was looking for opportunities so I can turn around and teach. Yeah, and then I turned around and help them buy a home. Mm-hmm. And so my first 6 months, I closed, I think, five transactions. And so it was just kind of one of those things where I was like, oh, that's so fun. Like it was really cool for me. And then just like throughout the year, I think I ended up with 12 transactions in my first year. So it wasn't like a ton, but but I will tell you, like with having a full-time job and that, it's huge, right? And then it just grew from there. And then it's been a great business since. So I've capped every year since I've started. So does that help? Okay. So what I'd say is just like I said, look for the opportunities and don't be scared to talk to people and ask them for business. Even if it's like a good friend or family member that you know they have their person. Like for me, why not ask them? And if they say no, that's the worst thing that could happen. And it's okay. And it's up to you to not make it awkward. So, I've been told no a million times, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. But who's helping you buy your house? Purchase your new one if you're not selling it with me. Would you give me that opportunity? And if they say no again, then I'm like, great. Well, I'm excited to hear the progress. Keep me posted, and a couple times that has really been a good thing, because sometimes they'll start down the road with somebody and they haven't signed any contracts and they realize, you know what, we don't mesh. I think we're better together, and they'll call me up. So just don't be afraid. I would also say is, I don't know if you guys have found this yet. Have you started talking to people yet?
Yeah.
How's it been going?
Good. I mean, like, I have some business like at the end of the year.
So, because they're ready to start in the end of the year?
Well, like, a lot of my business is like spring.
Gotcha. Have you put them on hot sheets yet?
Yep.
Perfect. Because you'll see that timeline will pull up. every time.
I have my grandparents on a hot sheet. They live in Midway, and I just want to move off Main Street. And
There's nothing in Midway, and it's super expensive, but it's so beautiful.
yeah, but there is 9 houses in HOA, and they have 3 dogs.
I don't blame them. Gotcha. How about you? What's been your experience?
I have a transaction coming up. I think we're going to list it in 2 weeks. And they're moving to Oregon in December. Their house will be done.
Awesome. Listings bring leads, and you'll know that. You'll see it.
I'm excited because their neighborhood is kind of, it's an edge home community.
Mhm.
So I'm hoping to get a lot of traction from the community there.
Awesome. That's great.
So a few people I know who are interested in buying a house, like I'm 21, Tristan's 20, 19.
Yep.
So we're still fairly young, and a lot of the people we do know are young as well. And I got a friend who he just got back from Afghanistan, and they're wanting to buy a house in the next couple of months, and he doesn't want to use the house regulation.
Right.
And he's like, "Oh, I don't want your first transaction to be always the one that you mess everything up on." I'm like, which always takes think about taking a chance on things like that.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, a few of the people I talk to that are close to my age that have gotten married recently, it's been a similar way the conversation's gone. But I've got in contact with a couple other people who investment properties, and then always reaching out to my SOI and just trying to come up with that.
Perfect.
Slow going, but
Yeah. And you'll find that down the road, you'll come in contact with people that are your age but have older siblings that are ready to buy and sell. And so that's where you're going to really get a lot of those extra people. So, and we're in, well, how old are you? 30?
I'm 31.
31 and 35. So we're in the stage where people are actually buying and selling, right? And so I do recognize that there's just different stages of life. And but I'll talk to you about your friend that's from. That's weird. Okay. It probably is. Actually, it probably totally is. Or the. Yeah, I know. Does that work? Still kind of feedback, right? Yeah, there's still some feedback there.
Yeah, just turn it off.
Okay. Well, I know that they're filming it. That's why. So, hang on. So, I'll do mic.
It's on the top. It's all the-
Oh, there we go. Thank you. You guys have done this before. I'm sure you guys get all the new, all the agents that haven't used it. They're like, you guys are telling everybody. They forget, and then you teach them how. Okay, this is not moving. There we go. All right. So, who wants to? Does somebody want to read this quote?
The first part of the real estate sales process is the hard, focused work of making connections and achieving agreements. The second part is the wide-eyed, vigilant guardianship of the transaction until it makes it to closing. Shift, how top real estate agents tackle tough times.
Any thoughts on that, you guys? Yeah.
It's very easy to get discouraged, and you just need to keep working harder and focus on your work, and it will pay off.
Yeah, and what I really like about it, it says connect. So the first part is connecting and achieving agreements, right? Like you guys are all in that part right now. You guys are connecting and getting agreements, and that is really monotonous and really hard to get to that point. But once you start getting to that point, then it says the second part is the wide-eyed, vigilant guardianship of the transaction. I can't tell you guys this enough, that if you are not vigilant, like this contract to close part is the hardest. This is why they hire us, and this is why we learn the knowledge that we do, because they're hiring you because they don't want to have to know all of the little intricate things. Our job is to know the intricate things and to help safeguard them from making any huge transactional mistakes. And so if you think that contract to close is an easy sailing, then you're in the wrong business, right? A lot of people think it's just getting that agreement and then also just kind of sailing to the end. But that's where all the hard negotiations end up happening. So thank you. You guys know everything. Okay. Okay, so making it happen, know the process, systems equal success, seize the golden opportunity and get paid. Okay. Yeah.
How long does it take usually after closing to get your check?
So they are really good here to get you your check in your bank account pretty darn quickly. Like once the title company sends like it's KW the check, their turnaround time is, I would say, within 3 days. But like, again, it depends on your compliance. So depending on if you finished all of your documents, if you've sent it in for review beforehand, it kind of just depends on you as well. But typically, I mean, they're really fast. I mean, most of the time I usually have it within 24 to 48 hours, business days wise. But sometimes it's 3 days and it can be up to 5. So just kind of depending on what like is best for you guys. But I mean, just plan on a week. And if it comes in before that, that's good. Because you never know how long it's going to take for the title company to send things over, because they have to make sure that all the documents are signed, confirmed. Sometimes the lender will come back and ask for certain things. So sometimes it doesn't leave the title office right after you sign. Okay. So here's the contract close process. Can you guys even see that? Yeah, I would say, let's see if we can zoom in. Come on. Nope. All right, well, that didn't work. There we go. Where can I zoom, you guys? You don't know that one yet, you guys?
Run into such a small diagram.
I know. Well, okay.
It's okay.
All right. Do you have your book?
Yeah.
Okay. Page 14. So, okay. So here is where we're at, you guys. So this kind of breaks down like the actual like contract close process. And this is something that, like, again, this may not be super applicable to you and you may forget this, and that's okay. But when you are in it, come back and review it, because it'll help you feel so much more confident. One thing that I really like to do is I will go through this process during the listing, the buyer broker agreement, and also during the listing part, just so that they understand what the contract to close looks like. I should have I didn't bring my my packet. You're welcome to come and get it from me upstairs. I have the packet, and I go through this whole process, and I will tell you, it prepares my people so much better to, like, in what they're ready to hit, like what the next step is going to be, than any other thing that I've been able to do. So I have like a diagram somewhat similar to this, but it breaks it down. So it says, okay, you guys, once we go under contract, this is where the real work begins. And you're going to be hearing from your lender all the time. Get them the documents. Give them the documents within 24 hours, or else guess what happens? We're not closing on time. Do you want to close on time? Well, yes. Do you really want the house? Yes. Then make sure they understand. They could come back, the lender can come back to them and get docs from them several times. And that's where I feel like when I was a first-time buyer, I had no idea what the process was. And nobody ever explained it to me. And so when we went through the process and the lender was asking us, oh, well, I need this document. Oh, and I need this and this document and this document. And they kept going over and over and over. I was so frustrated by the end of the process that I was like, do you want a DNA sample too? Like, I was so frustrated because I had no idea what was normal. Now, having gone through it several times, I realized it was a normal process and I just had no idea. So make sure that you're prepping your people, like your friend that you said is a first-time home buyer. You know what? it's going to be frustrating for him, especially being VA. So being a veteran, he's going to have some issues. He's going to have lots of things that he's going to go through if he decides to use a VA loan, right? So, so this is where you guys are going to start getting more, like as you get more experience, you'll be able to kind of be a better guide when it comes to this. But first we're talking about the offer. Obviously, you need to get the offer accepted. Once it's accepted, then you guys go into the inspection process. Your first deadline is the seller disclosures deadline, and that typically happens within the first week of you guys going under contract. Do you guys know what the seller disclosures are? Mm-hmm. Yep, they pretty much need to disclose everything they know that has gone wrong with the home and that's right with the home in that seller disclosures, right? Us as agents, as listing agents, we don't help them through that. They have to do that. Yeah, when I list a house, that's when I send it. So when we're doing the documents of them signing the agreement for listing, I send that with the MLS input form, as well as this SPCDs, so the property disclosures.
Document wise, if you're on the seller side, is it easier, like less documents you have to do, or no?
No, there's more actually. There are more as an agent on the listing side, because you have to do the MLS input, the seller property disclosures, the agreement, and then you're doing every addenda, every purchase contract. With the buyer, you're doing a buyer broker, and then just the rep on. So yeah, so the purchase contract on. So okay, so your first deadline is that due diligence. Again, helping them understand the property is what they really want, and they're going to go in, they're going to get tests, they're going to get, they can decide to do mold tests, meth tests, just a regular inspection. They can do water damage, like a moisture test. There's so many different things that you can have them do.
Do you just leave it up to them or do you offer recommendations?
So the tricky part about it for me, and radon testing, but the tricky part for me is you don't want it to ever come back to you. However, in that first sit down meeting, I do give them a list of all of the different types of testing they can get.
That's smart.
And I explain those things, and then they can decide once we get through the home if it's worth it. I'll say, hey, you remember my packet? Do you still have it? Yes. Okay, look through there and see which testing you're going to want to get. You can get a quote from this person.
Did you compile that packet yourself?
No, actually, it was a Keller Williams, and I just tweaked it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's already a one that Keller Williams did, and I just made my own from it. So you guys are welcome to do the same, and you guys can look what I've done. So, okay. And what I'll do is I actually have an insert it's more of an insert for the different tests, because they change or whatever. So, and then, like I said, you can get, I let them go and kind of do their own research on that, but at least they know and they're aware of them.
Not to detract from our time, but can you kind of go through the process that you do when you have a buyer, like to walk them through it? Like you were saying, you didn't know, and a lot of things just kind of popped up on you when you were buying your first home. Can you walk us through what a conversation would look like?
Yeah.
With a new buyer?
Totally.
Say we get a buyer, and just to prep them for what's to come.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'll say is what we're going through right now, this is it. So it's going to be really in line with what you asked. So because a lot of people, they know that an inspection needs to be done. They don't know they're paying for it sometimes. So that was one of the things that when we first bought our first place, we didn't even do an inspection. But it was a condo, so we felt like we're somewhat protected because there was an HOA. It was a big building. We figured it was going to be okay, and the house was immaculate, so we didn't do one the first time. So teaching them on inspections, again, letting them know, say, hey, if we're in an older property that you really want, just be aware that like radon testing is great, asbestos testing, all of these different tests are really wonderful. And if there's something that I see that's alarming, if we see something black in the corner, if I see something black in the corner, I'm going to point that out and say, hey, you know what, this might be some black mold. I don't know if it's true, but this could be. That might be something that we think about, just so that they can be aware. I will give them like things of awareness that I know or that I feel like could go that way, but I don't ever say for sure because I'm not the professional. I let the other professionals determine what is wrong with the home. So that inspection process is super important. Making sure that you guys do it within enough time of the contract or of the deadline so that you can have the inspection process and then make sure that you can get all the results. If they're doing several tests, you can get them all back before that deadline so you can ask for repairs. I can't tell you how many times that I've had people, agents, like send me over the repairs last minute, like literally last minute, they'll like hurry and throw in repairs on the last day saying, and if you don't agree to this, then we're pulling out, because they didn't take the time to do their research beforehand and ask for the repairs beforehand. So I always try to get my inspection within the first week, after like by day 7 to 10, because my due diligence deadline is typically 14 days out. And so if we can get the inspection in between days 7 and 10, typically it'll give us enough time to get all of our results back, and then we have time to negotiate the actual repairs. Okay. Are there any concerns you guys have with like negotiating repairs or anything about that process?
What's your process if there are repairs that need to happen for your buyer? What do you do? What's your process look like?
Okay, so once the inspection happens, and again, this is where you become like that guardian, that vigilant guardianship that it said. Here's the deal. I have learned with my buyers that some people are completely okay with like big things being wrong, and some people are not okay with small things being wrong. So like you might have somebody that's like nitpicking every little detail, and then you have someone who says, yeah, the HVAC system is almost dead, and they're like, okay. Yeah, so what I do is we go through the inspection process. I stay very quiet during the inspection process because number one, I'm not the one who did all the inspection, and number two, I don't know how my client is feeling, because they might have knowledge that I don't know. Their brother-in-law is an HVAC guy that can come in and change it out, that they're totally okay with, right? I don't know. So what I usually do is I just stay quiet during the inspection. They bring up all of the concern, like they'll have their report in front of them, and I say, okay, so then after the inspector leaves, I say, okay, what are your top things here that items of concern? So we'll sit down and we'll talk about their items of concern. Then I'll write them down, right? And I said, was there anything else that you guys acknowledged or noticed beyond what the inspection did that also is a concern? Then I'll write it down, right? And if at that point they they don't have anything, or they do have something, or they're like, oh, I don't remember what the inspector says, I say, okay, let's wait and get our inspection report back. Let's go through it, and then I'll ask you again. So then usually the inspection report comes back within a day or two, and then we'll go through it, and I'll say, hey, your inspection report is ready. Did you check it out? And then I'll call tonight. Does that make sense? So I'm constantly following up with them. So then I'll call that evening, and then we'll say, okay, what was there any other items of concern that we didn't talk about before? Well, no. Now I look for, as an agent, issues of safety and code. Like if it's not up to code, or like major appliances, things like that. If it's not up to code, or if it's a safety issue, those are my top two priorities as an agent, right? Because those are things that are going to come back and bite them. Because if something wasn't up to code and they have a home warranty, it doesn't cover it, right? So I really like to try and keep within that scope, especially if you're looking at first-time home buyers that are up to 400,000. The market is so competitive right now, up to 400,000, even up to 500,000. It's crazy. And so what I would say is, you'll know if you'll be able to get repairs. Does that make sense? I say you throw in the repairs and you see what they're going to come back with, right? We usually either ask for money or we'll ask for the actual repairs to be done by professionals. That's another one, is I will put in there by a professional, and we need an invoice to show us. Because again, if it's something that's code or safety, right? Because you don't want the homeowner going in and doing a shoddy job and they have no idea what they're doing. Now, if there's small little things like, oh, well, let's patch up some paint, I don't care if they do it. And my clients typically don't. So that's what I would say is you can ask for money, or you can actually go through. You can actually have a repairman do it. And if they completely decide, like if the sellers decide they don't want to give any concessions at all, then that's up to your buyer to say, okay, it's time to back out. So it's really, it's kind of just a hard, like a process where you guys are it's a balancing process, really. So that's the due diligence deadline. Again, being like very vigilant. It seems like it'd be hard to not keep these things in order. Like once you can have something under contract, you're like, okay, of course, these are our deadlines. But when you have several transactions going at once, it gets like, you're juggling a deal. And so for example, this last month I had 5 that closed, right? So, but then I'm also helping new buyers go through the process of going under contract for this month, and so I have 2 new listings, and, so you may have 10 things in the pipeline, 12 things in the pipeline at once, and you have to kind of juggle it all, right? So it's just finding that fine balance of finding a system that works best for you, that is going to keep you on top of things. Now, some of the agents that I know here, sometimes they'll say, okay, with my listings, I do a once a week check-in with my sellers, right? So they'll do every Friday morning between 9 and noon, they'll go through and they'll talk to their sellers and say, hey, here's what's the scoop. We've had this many showings, we had no offers, and this is where we're at. Unless we have an offer, they don't hear from them until that Friday, and then they kind of regroup with them, right? You guys find what works best for you. For me, it's the easiest when I have information that I will call my sellers or my buyers or whatever. And then, but I also make sure that I'm checking in with them at least once a week. Is that helpful? Even with people that were actively searching. If they're actively searching for a home, then I'm going to say, hey guys, did you see anything that came through this week? Is there anything you're interested in? We'll go look at the houses. So anyway, but once you start getting deadlines, again, it can get really, really jumbled if you don't have a system. So that's what I'd say is, and it's more trial and error, to tell you the truth. I'll give you that. But what I'll do is, for my home deadlines, I'll put a reminder in my phone for 2 days prior saying deadline's coming up. So then I have it on my mind, and then I can double check and make sure that we have enough time to do whatever we need to until the actual deadline happens. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, so we're talking about the inspection. So offer, inspection. Okay, title. What do you guys know about title? Do you guys know what title companies are all about? Transferring title. What else? Yep. Liens, encumbrances, water rights, second mortgages. Yeah, exactly. So you want to just double check to see. Now they will, once you go under contract, getting all of the right people on the same page is completely the smartest thing you can do. You're going to send out an email saying, hey, title, here's the other agent and your loan officer and, you know, whoever's involved, inspector, we are now under contract and here are deadlines and here's what the agreement is. Then you attach the documents. That is the number one thing you can do, because that gives title the okay to say, okay, we'll do all the title search and make sure that the title's clear. And if we have any issues, we'll start working on it, right? And then if, you know, there's just all these little things, but like having that email that goes out is really a big, I mean, I do that the minute that we go under contract. So, well, I don't, my transactional coordinator does. So, but I would say don't do transactional coordinators until you guys have done quite a few deals on your own. I would highly suggest that, just so you guys can know the process. So clearing the title, yeah, having your title officer, this is kind of deceiving because it looks like it's going like from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. But really it's like this part right here, this whole part right here, these are all simultaneous. These are all happening simultaneous. And so, yep, clearing title, inspection, and loan, the loan process. So that's what we're talking about now. Yeah, so what you're going to do, the biggest thing is all the documents that you're getting when it comes to the purchase contract on, lender and title should have all those documents. That's pretty much it. Minus so it's the purchase contract and all the addenda with it. You don't need to do the property disclosures. That has nothing to do with the lender. Uh-huh. Yep, we just went under contract. Yeah. And also, so the buyer broker, you do need to send to the title company to show that there is an agreement of payment. Does that make sense? So they can legally pay a check to you. So ERS or a BBA, you guys are all familiar with those, right? Okay. No, well, I just do it electronically. I'll just send it all in emails. Everything's electronic. I love InWest. I've been with InWest for, well, since I started. So I use Krista Tahi over there, and I've used Jamie, and I've used pretty much Krista and Jamie. I don't have a lender with First Colony. Actually, my husband does lending, and so he's at Intercap, and him and his business partner, I use them. But my husband's more of a processor. Like he does the processing part of it. So his business partner is the one who's like the sales facing guy. So yeah. So those are all good questions. I've really loved InWest, and especially because I can go in and calculate online what our closing fees will be. I do that alongside certain things so that they can have an idea of what they're looking at for pricing. Just because for me, it's important that my clients know they're all in, because sometimes it's hard for them to know that, hey, there's closing costs and there's your down payment. They're separate, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, it depends. Like sometimes you can get closing costs from sellers. Like sometimes those are all, negotiations. So asking for $5,000 in closing. The seller comes back and says, no, I'll do $2,500. And then you say, okay, great. Or no, we're not going to do any because we have multiple offers. And most of the offers are not asking for closing costs, So it just depends. Now closing costs, again, like they can come out of your client's pocket or they can wrap it into the loan. So those are small little tidbits that I've learned that help my clients understand that, okay, if worst comes to worst cash wise, I need at least my down payment. And then you send them over to the lender and let them be the professional and knowledge person. As much as I know about loans because of my husband, I know tons of things, but I always defer to them because I don't ever want to quote something that I'm not licensed for. So I just don't want the liability. Okay, so there we are. So once you guys are under contract, you guys have sent everything off to everybody, right? You've sent the lender, the title company, the other side, whether they're the sellers or the buyers, right? The selling or listing side. And you send all those documents to the other agent, and then they'll tell you who their title people are, so you can also forward it on to them as well directly. So it's just that part of the transaction of just making sure that everybody's in connection and the communication is fluid. The big thing is if you're not having that consistent communication with all of those parties, something ball could get dropped somewhere that could completely decimate the deal, right? If the lender didn't order the appraisal at the point that you guys are supposed to have the financing and appraisal deadline, that's a problem. Because there's, even on a rush right now, I mean, there's so many loans that are going on right now that all the appraisers are slammed right now. And so like even rush orders are still a week out, you know? So you want to make sure that you can get, that you are on top of it. So a week before, put a thing on your phone, an alarm on your phone saying financing appraisal is 1 week from today. Call your lender, see where they're at. If you haven't heard from the appraiser, if you haven't heard that the appraiser's gone, if you haven't had a value given back to you yet, just to confirm all of those things. Again, you're the watchdog. This is why they're paying you. Sometimes you get so comfortable with your people that you're working with, like your title company, your lender, that everybody just kind of does their thing. Still at the end of the day, double check everything, because some people have bad days. Some people have COVID, right? Like some people have other things that have happened that they've dropped the ball with you, and you want to make sure that you pick it up. Okay, and then you guys understand with closing disclosures when they have to go out? How many days prior to closing? 3, that's right. So 3 days prior to closing, closing disclosures from the lender have to go out and be signed. If your clients don't sign them within that 3 days of closing, then it will push it back. So I always tell my clients, hey, we're coming up on the closing day. Remember, when the lender sends you something to sign, make sure you look it over, confirm the numbers, and sign it. Because if not, we're not closing on that date. Again, it's just giving your clients what they should expect. If they don't know what to expect, they're going to be so frustrated throughout this process. And they're going to be like, oh, that was the worst experience I've ever had. And this is where you make your money, you guys. This is where you have like your biggest fans or your worst enemies, you know? So make sure that you're constantly teaching them what's next. I consider myself as a teacher in real estate. Like, I'm a consultant, and whatever my client chooses for themselves, I don't care. I don't care which way they go. I just want to give them enough information for them to make the right decision for them, because I don't know what their situation is and I can't make their decisions. So my job is just to educate them on a high level so that they are able to make the best decision. Okay. And I find that like a lot of my clients, they just feel empowered by the time they get into their home, because they felt like they had the decision. It wasn't just oh, we couldn't do this because of this. They didn't feel like something was taken away from them. Have you purchased a home yet? Not yet. So you'll be on that side soon enough. But I just find that a lot of my clients, especially their first time home buying process, if we keep them over communicated to, at the end, they're just like, oh, I would never use anybody else. They're my favorite, you know, and it's just really fun to see that. And the fact that they feel safe is a big deal. Okay. And then once the closing disclosures go out, 3 days later, you can close. And then closing, so when they sign, it doesn't necessarily mean that funds are at the title company yet. Sometimes the lender will fund within 24 hours, like it's next day funding, or sometimes it's same day funding, just depending on the client and what their situation is. So I always say, again, like if we need to sign by a certain day, if we need to close a settlement date, but it doesn't fund till the next day, that's okay. Just make sure that they sign on or by the settlement date. Okay. And then the funds will be transferred again. That can be another 24, 48 hours, depending on if it's on a weekend. So if they sign Friday afternoon, it won't fund and record until Monday. Okay. And then, yeah, recording, legal recording and owner possession. So once recording is done, title company will contact you and say, hey, it's recorded. And then you will go over to the home and get the keys and give them to your clients. Sorry, that was a lot. That was a big one. Okay, what questions do you guys have up right now? Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you a personal experience that we've had. So, so this was one of my first, probably like my fourth or fifth buyer. So this is what happened. We were selling their house. We were purchasing another home, and so we had their house under contract. Perfect. Then we went to go put them under contract on this other home. We went under contract. Everything was looking good. I had confirmation from the seller. I mean, from the lender. Everything's like on time. We had the appraisal, and the home was vacant. And the buyer of their home wanted to get into it like right away because of his rent, like ending. So, I mean, his agreement ending for his rent. And so we had done what we call a garage addendum, meaning that we asked if we could have possession of the garage just to move stuff in, so that as soon as we funded and recorded, they had everything else packed up and they could move out immediately and the new buyer could come in immediately. So we did that, and come close time, and I was in Europe at this time, and this was like everything was melting down. So I was so coming close time, we were literally like 2 days before closing, 2 days. And I call and confirm with the lender, hey, everything's looking good. He's like, yeah. I said, oh no, this was 3 days because it was closing disclosures. I said, are you getting closing disclosures out? He's like, yeah, I just sent them out over to the buyer. I said, wonderful, thank you. So I looked it over, and the numbers that he had quoted, I had 2 separate quotes. The numbers he had quoted to them in the beginning and the numbers that he had on the closing disclosures, the difference was $600 a month, like significantly different. Even though my client could technically afford, it was within his realm, he didn't want to afford a home like that, right? And it was so crazy because I was like, oh my goodness, like that, what happened? And the loan officer said, oh, well, I had quoted this, but I didn't lock it in, or, whatever. Long story short, the deal ended up falling through. We ended up not going through with it. And the loan officer said, this is totally my fault. And he took responsibility for it. And he paid for the earnest money on both sides, made sure that my client didn't incur those costs. But the thing is they were already partially moved into the home, and it was devastating for them to have to move it back out. Like, so devastating. And so what I would say is, and then they moved back into their house for another year before we found another house that was back into their home. It was their buyer that was coming in. Yeah. So the thing, the thing is what I would say is, be careful, because I learned the hard way and watched my clients like just go through a devastating, like, emotional thing of having to pull their stuff out of the home that they thought was their dream home. So, so in answering the question of possession, yes, you can, maybe, but I don't know. It's up to you. It's up to you, but I probably will never do it again. I probably will just say, let's just wait till we close and fund and record before we get possession. And if they don't have any options of where to go, like in between, usually I help try and solve that problem by saying, hey, I'll give you a couple of nights stay at this hotel. But I don't like to sell a house first before we know for sure that they're selling, unless they're planning on selling, renting for a year and then buying. That it's a different story, right? Okay. Okay, so throughout the entire contract to close process, follow up regularly with closing, title, escrow company, and the loan officer to be sure everything is progressing on schedule. Kind of what we talked about. Come on. All right, looks good. There we go. All right, who wants to read success tip number 2? Okay.
Both agents should attend the closing to be a resource to their clients and to be sure items, keys, security codes, openers, etc., providing access, security, and use of property are turned over to the buyer. It's also a chance to thank your clients and ask for referrals.
Yep, awesome time to ask for referrals. Unless it's an awkward closing, then you're like, But I typically love to be there for almost all my closings. Some of them, I just can't be there, or they can't make it work. So we'll have the title company go to their work and close them at their own work. So there's been times where I can't be physically there, but I definitely close. I usually have my title girl call me and say, yep, we're all done. And then I'll call them up and rejoice with them. And then I say, okay, I'll meet you at the house as soon as we're funded and recorded. And that's when I can have fun with them.
Do you do closing gifts?
Yes, I do. Uh-huh.
What kind of things do you give?
Some people give, I'll tell you, some people give the same exact closing gift every single time. I don't. I just do it specifically for my client. So I usually allocate money every single closing, a certain amount of money towards them. So I'll do $200 or $100, depending on the size of home, but usually $100 to $200. And I'll give a gift card, but I usually do a gift basket of some sort with it. So it's about $150.
Do you do that on both sides for the buyer and the seller, or
if they're buying and selling with me?
No, if you have a seller, do you offer them a closing gift, or is it usually just when you have a seller or a buyer? Sorry.
No, I have it with both.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, whenever a seller does, and I actually even have what I call my gift card campaign. So this is more of the long-term fun part that I love doing, is I will send them, so I allocate a certain amount towards client appreciation, like events, appreciation, whatever. But for every transaction that I have, I've set aside $300 to go towards the client. And so again, depending on how much I use, I do a gift card campaign of about $100. And what I do is I'll send them a gift card, 3 months after they close, and then 6 months, 9 months, and then a year. So they get different gift cards throughout that, saying have a, and I do movies. So I'll do have a treat on me. So first I'll do a Cold Stone one for $10. And then the next one is, hey, go to the movies and enjoy yourself. And then their movie tickets. And then there's another gift card for dinner. And, so I'll do certain things just to remind them I'm still here, I'm still celebrating. And then on the year anniversary, I send another card, and with a dinner, with a nice dinner gift card. So that's, again, to keep that, keep top of mind.
Is that part of your 36 touch?
Yeah. Well, no, it's separate. It's from people who close with me.
It's just your closing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So yeah. So it's the first year I'm consistently sending them something.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Come on. Oh, awesome. Perfect. Oh, I didn't notice there's people on our Zoom. Hi, Zoom people. There we go. Okay, so closing checklists. Was it recording? I thought it was. It was. Oh, well, okay. Well, we might not be recording. That's okay. Okay, so it just talked about. Oh yeah, closing checklists. Again, I have my checklists. You guys are welcome to come and look at them. But Keller Williams, I've just taken them off of Keller Williams websites. Just going through and seeing, okay, what do I need to do, and then I'll make myself very specific, like reminders or things like that. Just because I think that it is important, like, because I mean, I'm running around 1,000,000 miles an hour, so having an alarm really helps me. That's how I work. You guys do what is best for you. Whatever works best for you, go with it, okay? So yes. And then there's also in your book, I believe 18 and 19, they have the actual buyers checklists, buyer and listing checklists. You see them? Oh yeah, that's true. Amber's awesome. So make sure that you're going through those and really like just diving deep into them and saying, okay, do I know what this is? And is this applicable for my client, right? Or would this be applicable? Because like they're doing a generalized form for all agents across all states. Not all agents on every state has exactly what those lists are. However, and then also like add to it the things that you feel like you need to have. So, but just go through them and make them your own lists. Okay. Do you guys want to do the problem solver thing? Well, I guess we're online, so we'll wait. We'll not do it. Okay. Well, why don't we read it at least? What, page 20? 21? The scenario, right? I see it, sorry. Oh, never mind. It's not what I thought it was. So actually, no, we're gonna skip this part, guys. But go through that. Be a problem solver. Page 24. You guys want to learn about the golden opportunity? Does anyone want to read it? Yeah, other Mason. Mason 2, 1 or 2. Who's 1 and who's 2? Oh, Mason S. J.
There we go. Although the closing process may seem like the end, it's not. It actually can be the beginning of another relationship with your next buyer, seller, referral, or vendor, providing an excellent customer experience for everyone involved. Over communicating, setting and exceeding expectations is key to seizing this golden opportunity. Think of all the people involved in the entire transaction, especially the close, buyers, sellers, other agents, lenders, title companies, and many more. It's important to always have a great impression. One of the best ways to do this is to acknowledge and thank them. Always come from gratitude.
Awesome. So kind of the thing, like kind of the systems that I've built around what I like my own business. Very simple. Like it truly is like important for you to be able to seize that opportunity of saying, how was your experience? And be okay with getting negative feedback. I think that that's where we learn the most. Like, and the thing is trying to helping to make things right. If something did go wrong and they don't feel like there was a resolution, some people you can't. There's some people that will never ever be satisfied, but the majority of people can be satisfied, and they appreciate more the honesty and the true heartfelt, sincere desire to help them, right? And the desire to do better for them. And so even taking inventory throughout the process of saying, hey, how's everything going? You know, do you know anybody else that would be a good fit with me to be a good agent, you know, to be their agent? I have people saying, oh yeah, my brother's going to be looking here soon. oh, my sister, my neighbor, you know, and they tend to have a lot of more of that information. And so don't like miss the chance to be able to ask people for business. And again, like it says, come for gratitude. Thank you for letting me serve you. You know, because you're going to get a lot of thank yous from your clients because they get into the house they want. But when you sincerely reach out in gratitude, it's just such a great relationship builder. So agents have two agendas. One, to move the current transaction toward a successful closing, and two, to ensure referrals. Most agents don't get that. Any thoughts on that? It's pretty clear, but I love the fact that the second, it's twofold. Second is to ensure referrals. I agree. I think referrals are your biggest source of gratitude from your clients, right? And it shows. And sometimes they don't come up with any referrals until later, but keep asking. If you had a great experience with them and that you feel like they would refer you, keep asking.
For sure. Referrals are the biggest part of growing any business that there is.
Mhm.
You know, you got to start from somewhere. A lot of times it's people like me and Tristan who are really young, starting from nothing and having to build that up and then get referrals as we go along and along and along. You know, my dad, who's been a CPA for 20 years, most of his business now is referrals from, you know, the clients he's had for 15, 20 years that just keep coming back and referring more people. And now he's having to turn away clients just because he doesn't have the capacity to take them on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the biggest part is the referral section of it. You know, when you're providing a good service, that's when more business comes and things just end up growing into bigger
Yeah,
things. So.
absolutely. And I will say this, like, you know, my husband and I talk a lot about business just because we both have our own businesses and we both are in the same industry. And so it's been really fun, but I think people underestimate the amount of time and effort it takes to acquire a client. Because referrals, they might seem like they come easy, but think of all the like groundwork you did to put in the right systems, to put in the right things. It takes a lot, and then also educating them to a point where they feel comfortable hiring you. And so it's interesting to me because I think a lot of people say, well, you guys get paid a ton of money for what you guys do, right? But, and you know, like I have to look at them and say, because they're on a W-2 job. And I say, yeah, but I think you underestimate the salesmen of your company are the reason why you have a job, right? Like the salesmen of your company are the ones who are literally making your job stable. So would you underestimate that at that point? Probably not.
And it's not like, I mean, we're not getting paid for all the hours that we put in by the hour. You know, I was thinking about this the other day also, because it's my cousin's listing that I'm doing, and they maybe once it closes, yeah, there'll be a lot of money, but I have to put in all the effort to get it there the right way. And I mean, it's, yeah, I'm not seeing money every 2 weeks or whatever, but once it does close and I do the job right, then I'll see the money. But for them, it's not like they work for however long and then they get a big paycheck. It's like they're consistently getting paid. So it's a different mindset.
Yeah, totally. And one thing I would say is something that I have really noticed with agents, the agents who make it and the agents who don't, is understanding how to make the ups and downs become a very consistent amount throughout their business. Because, you know, as a new agent, you guys know this, like you guys are building just to get, you know, a paycheck. And then, you know, you might have a downtime. You might start to go. Most people, it takes a while for it to start to become consistent. I tell people, you know, your first few closings are going to happen within 6 months, typically. And then it takes a whole year to get it to start to become consistent. It takes at least a year and a half before you start seeing consistency. And so your paycheck is going up and down and up and down. And I will tell you, the agents who succeed in this business are the ones who start to plan from day one to pay their taxes, to pay their go ahead. So typically you'll have, well, yeah, because like, I mean, if they don't know when to pull it out, unless you tell them, hey, I got paid, they usually don't do that. Usually they do quarterly. Or what I do, I will tell you guys this. Number one, go and read Profit First. That is the number one book that I'm telling you that I gained the most traction with my own like finances and business by reading that book. It was phenomenal. Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. That sets you up to put away these things, like, because it's really exciting when you get a $10,000 check your first time around. $10,000 is a lot, right? Especially if you guys are, you know, single guys that, you know, you're younger, and $10,000 is huge. Girlfriend money. I've never heard that, but hey, there you go. But like, the thing is I'll tell you, 50% of my check I set aside for taxes, for my what's called cap that I have to pay every year. I set it aside. Client appreciation, marketing, whatever I want to allocate that money to, 50%. And I take right off the top, that 25 goes straight into taxes. That I don't touch that until tax time. Because I can't tell you how many times I saw what come March, we have Novalie, who's over all of our finances, and she'll get a call from agents saying, hey, would you guys, you know, are there opportunities for me to do something different so I can get money for taxes? Because they didn't plan for it. Plan for it every check. Even as exciting as it may be to get that large amount, or you're like dying to get that large amount, just be completely like, just know that half of your check is actually your real check. I would say expect that, because that will set you up for more success down the road, because that will turn into more money down the road. Because I have money put aside for my client appreciation, there are times that I'll just like think of, oh, hey, I want to do this. I look at my account, see if it's allocated, and if I have enough money in it, I'll just go and do it, right? Just to go through and send all my clients something, like a little gift or something. That is important to me. But if you don't have the money sitting there, or if it's sitting in your personal bank account, I will tell you, it's harder to make that decision. It is. I try that. It doesn't work very well. But when it's sitting in your business account in a specific fund, it's huge. So I'm just telling you.
Do you mind if I ask some questions about all that?
Yeah.
Do you, where do you put your taxes? Do you just have an account that is tax account, and then do you have a separate account that's just for your like rewards and gift cards and all the client appreciation, all that is a separate account? And then do you have
I'd be happy. So when we're done, I'd be happy to show you what I have. I literally have, the bank hates me. I have, for my business account, like 8 different accounts. For my personal account, we have 15. Because we save, and it sounds ridiculous, right?
No,
but
that's how we do it.
But we have
too.
all of our income come into one account.
And then it spiders.
And then we take it and we allocate very specific funds to certain things. And then we have one outgo account, a separate one that's not that are on our income, so that we know when we use up certain money, we have to transfer it out of all these little accounts and put it in there to replace it. It has literally, like, our traction on making money and saving money, I mean, has phenomenally grown. Like, I mean, I think I remember we were like stretching to like maybe do $1,000 a month or whatever, like to save. This last couple of months, we've been putting away $50,000 and $60,000 a month.
Wow.
In savings.
No, her and her husband.
My husband. And so it's like, okay, like, because we've become more honed in on what we want. And then our paychecks aren't our paychecks aren't our income. Our paychecks are the means to an end, kind of a thing. Like, does that make sense? And so for us, it's
Love
more
that.
of like learning how to gain traction. It doesn't matter how much money you make. There was a point where we were making the exact same amount, and when we were scraping together to try to do $1,000, we still when we started Profit First, we put away 10,000, and we didn't even think. So we have other types of investments right now. We'll do like investment properties soon enough, but we want to just pay all cash for all those things. So we're just kind of waiting. Yeah, absolutely. But like, that's what I would say is like, just set yourself up for success in so many ways. Not like, and so you have to, like for you, it's like, this is how you should be doing it. Setting up your systems and for your clients too, because you want them to have that same exact success with their personal finances and purchasing their home. But you have to remember that every little detail that you help them understand is like currency. Does that make sense? Like helping them understand the process of closing, because they could just from them understanding how the process works, they could save themselves some money in understanding how it works. Does that make sense? Because there are so many ways that a loan officer can do a loan. There are so many ways. But if they are aware of, hey, there are different ways to be able to tweak things, they might be able to find something that actually saves them $200 a month instead of going with a different option. So that's why I really like to understand and help them see it for what it is.
Can you, I mean, you talked to us about your gift card process, but can you talk to us a little bit more about some of your referral programs, how you bring in referrals yourself?
Yeah. So on the back end, the golden opportunity. So before I start the process with them, when we're sitting down and we're doing a buyer broker agreement or a real estate a listing agreement, when we're sitting there and talking, I ask them, what are your expectations of me? And I have them write it down. What would you like to see throughout this process? And they write it down. And then what it says, like, okay, so these are all the expectations. And I make sure that my expectations and their expectations meet. Because if they're saying, hey, I want you to call me every single night with all the updates, I'm not going to be doing that. And I can tell them up front, you know what, that is something I don't do, but let me tell you what I do. And so they can understand that that's not my process. And if it doesn't work out for them, that's okay. Maybe I'm not the right agent for them. Because if not, you're going to be called at 2 a.m. You're going to be getting text messages. You're going to be like, they will bombard you. People will, like, you would be so exhausted if you don't set up those expectations up front, right? So I ask them what their expectations of me are. And then I also add to them, hey, along these things, I also do this. So just knowing what your process, knowing what you would like to give them. So then I also say, okay, what would make this process like a 10 plus, like for you? What makes, like for you, like what would be the absolute best thing that could happen in this transaction that would be like, you guys, it'd blow your mind and you're like, I would not use anybody but Jackie. And then I let them write it down. Now they don't have to write it down in front of me. Sometimes because like it's not the time or it's not appropriate for them to like just sit and think about it. It feels awkward. So then I'll say, take this home, but I need a picture of your answers in the next day before we go look at homes, whatever, right? Because I want to know what they want from me and if I can meet that. If I don't meet that, then I need to be sure that they know, right? And then if I know that I completed what their 10 plus is, I usually say, okay, so 10 plus to me means I am your agent and you would 150% refer me when you know of somebody who is looking to buy or sell. I don't, because you can't. Legally, you can't give referral. Like you can't Well, you can give referral, like you can say if you get a referral, you can give them a gift card or whatever, but you can't solicit it. Exactly. So you can't say, oh, for every referral you give me, I'll give you $100, right? You can't say that. So it depends. It depends. It can't be something ridiculous where you're buying somebody off, right? But I mean, if it's something that is reasonable, like I bought somebody a KitchenAid because I knew that they really wanted a KitchenAid, and I didn't solicit anything, but they gave me a great referral for $1 million house. And I showed up at their house with a KitchenAid and said, "You guys are amazing. Thank you for trusting me with your people." Right? Like, right. So I mean, like, so it just depends. It's reasonable. It's not solicited. You really are giving it out of gratitude, kind of a thing. So, so that's what I would say. But so when it comes to that, I say, you guys will trust me with your people. So then when I go to follow up, like after I've sent out the gift cards, hey, how are you doing? How are things going? Do you know anybody that's looking to buy or sell? It's not like a weird conversation. Whereas I think that if you don't bring up that at the beginning, if you don't set that precedent, asking on the back end is super awkward, right? Oh, do you know anybody that's ready to buy or sell? Like, nobody uses that. Nobody says that if you're not, well, I mean, people do, but it makes it awkward. And then it kind of kills that relationship. But if you've always had that relationship and that expectation that that's going to be what you ask, then they're okay with it. And it's not weird. It's just really weird when you just call out of the blue and be like, hey, who do you know that's looking to buy or sell real estate? Do you guys ever feel awkward saying that? It feels awkward and funky, right? That's one thing that when I was going through Ignite, I was like, oh, I would never say that. But what I did find out was I could call people with facts of the real estate industry because I love teaching people things, right? Yeah.
So there was a house, it was pretty overpriced, but it fell under contract, I guess. But say I wanted to make like a paper, do you think it'd be a smart idea not door knocking and giving them a paper saying, hey, contact me if you want to know like a estimate of how much your house is worth?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and oh, go ahead.
But also you don't want to be working for free if you just give them that and then go with a different agent. How can you prevent that if you give them a CMA?
Well, so you're talking about CMA on their home specifically?
Yeah. So just like trying to get your name out there and showing people you're a real estate agent, be like, hey, I can give you a CMA on your house. Yeah.
So again, it's screening them after they contact you and say, hey, I actually would really love to get a valuation on my home. And I ask lots of questions at that point. I usually say, awesome. So what's your timeline like? Oh, actually, I'm just kind of wondering for property tax information, Oh, okay, perfect. Then I just send them what they have, like what is on Remind. And I say, now this is subject to, I'll just tell them like, hey, so I don't do any work on it really. I just pull up the address and it has comps and I'll say, hey, this is the range because it gives you a range. And I said, this is the range depending on style. I haven't seen the inside of your home, finishes, things like that. But when you're ready to sell, I'd be happy to walk through and do that CMA for you. Right. So there's things that you can do to weed through. Just ask the right questions. That's what I would say. Yeah. You're welcome. Okay. I think we're almost done here. NAR reports that 88% of clients say they would use a real estate agent again, but only 12% do. That sucks. Don't be in that 76 that loses touch with their past clients. I think it's huge. I've already, in the 4.5 years that I've been in real estate, it's like I've already helped people twice now, like because it's their first home of a condo townhome. And now it's okay, we've had a few kids into their next home, their starter home. Not with me because I over client appreciate, like, because I will tell you, I actually don't run ads. all of mine is word of mouth. Like almost all of it, besides like my listings that I get referrals from, things like that. So I paid someone to do ads, and I found out it wasn't as cost effective for me. I would recommend profit first. I would recommend that you have profit in your business first, and that you have money allocated to marketing first. Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And it's ad running is, like I said, if you have no way of like creating like referrals, if you're not from here, if you're not, I don't know, or if you're young or whatever, but I find that the face-to-face door-to-door contact, like that right there, the face-to-face contact is by far your biggest. I've knocked doors, yeah, and I've had a lot of like success with it. I just, again, like I'm busy enough and I feel good enough with what I have and what I'm getting just by word of mouth, because we adopted 2 young little babies last year, so now it's like life's a little crazy, but so yes, so I have a transactional coordinator that I use, yeah, and she's amazing. Totally. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And like, so I do a lot of I still do all the update calls. She just does all the back end paperwork. And then I'll remind people and educate them. And again, I set aside a certain time to do that. So you can do it within your scope or whatever time you have. But I would just say, just continue to love on the people that you've already worked with, even the people that were hard. I would say I've had a couple of hard clients and I have come to get to know them so much better on the back end of it, like when you're not under a high stress situation, and become really close with them. Yeah, they did. A lot of them do, because they'll be like, I'm so frustrated, and not at you, but at this, or I'm frustrated at you because of this. And for me, I would rather hear that from my client than on the back end where they said, don't use this person, right? I would rather hear the good and bad. Like, that's just me, but, and I'd rather make it better in the way that I can, right? If it's reasonable and it's true. So what I would say is love on your people, even if they were hard clients, because they still will become your advocates. So, we already did the thank you card, gift ideas, and then putting it all together, action plan, prepare for your final Ignite class. Oh, here we go. This is from, so I guess we're pretty much done, you guys. So what I would say is this, come up with an action plan, figure out what you guys want for your business, and come up with systems. Again, it's going to be trial and error of actually going through it and having those communication styles with your people, of understanding what works best for you and for them. But make sure that they understand in the long run that you are there to be their advocate in every way, to educate them, to protect them, to negotiate on their behalf, and that you're just kind of their bulldog, their watchdog. And if your actions are not meeting up with that of you being the true teacher and watchdog, then you're in the wrong business. I hate to say that, but you are. You can't neglect your people. You can't neglect the fact that your licensure is to protect those people. You are just as important as a defense lawyer in the courtroom, right? You are standing on behalf of them and presenting facts. So if you take it that seriously, you'll be a great agent. So anyway, so that's everything, you guys. Anything you guys, any ahas or thoughts that you guys want to implement for your own business?
I love the referral, the way you do the upfront, like, what are your expectations for me? What would you love to see me do? And then how could I translate that into you passing on your people to me. And then also how you follow up with people and the gift card method that you use. I think that's really awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. And if you guys want any more information, I'd be happy to send it on of exactly what I do.
Yeah, I think all of your systems sound really awesome.
No, not all of them, but some of them do work.
Everything you built.
Yeah.
I just like how you said, like, when you get a paycheck, only look of it is half of your paycheck. Kind of showing how to budget, put money aside for savings, put money aside for your, client gifts or taxes.
Yeah.
I just really like that part. So
Awesome. Yeah. Read Profit First. Such a good book, you guys.
I just think my takeaway from this is you've really helped open my eyes at how much work you've got to do on the back end, following up with everybody and fighting for them, making sure that everything's on track, that, transactions not going to fall apart.
Yeah.
It just kind of puts into perspective the amount of work that we really have to put in, in different ways. And I feel like that just, helped me a lot with the clarity of that.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thank you guys. You've been awesome for being here. And I know that there's people online that I don't see that I probably will look at in a minute. But if there's anything, like any of these systems that you guys want me to bring up or, give you guys that I've used, I'm happy to give whatever I have. And so just email me. My email is, and I'm just saying this for the people online, but I'll give you guys my email. But it's Jackie@ClydeRealtyGroup.com. So if you want to email me and get that information for people online, if you guys want to ask me here, and I'll just write it down and send it over to you, no big deal. So thanks for coming to Ignite today, you guys. I know that I'm a little bit early, but I hope you guys have a good time figuring out your transactions, because that is the part where, like I said, the rubber meets the road. So, all right. Thanks, guys.